Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a mystery, a 40-year-old riddle, really, from one of the greatest songwriters of all time. It's a puzzle wrapped in prophecy and public spectacle. And that question is the heart of it all. Who or what is the Jokerman? This is the central mystery of Bob Dylan's 1983 song, the super enigmatic opening track to his album Infidels. For decades, people have been trying to unmask this character. But the song? Well, it just doesn't want to give up its secrets that easily. So, is this guy a hero, a villain, maybe a prophet, or just a really convincing con man? See, the song never lets you land on an answer. It just surrounds the Jokerman with all these contradictions. And get this, that's not a bug, it's a feature. In fact, it's the whole point. All right, let's really get into it. The song isn't trying to give us a neat little answer. Nope. Its real goal is to teach us something. A skill you could call productive uncertainty. It's all about learning how to see clearly in a world full of figures who actually thrive on being confusing. And you've got to admit, that skill feels more relevant right now than ever before. Okay, so to even begin to understand the Jokerman, we've got to start with the clues Dylan leaves scattered throughout the song. And its power really comes from this massive collision. A collision between two totally different worlds. What you're seeing here is the real genius of the song. It's constantly mashing up the sacred and the secular. On one hand, you have this really grand moral language, stuff straight out of the Bible, prophecy, judgment, redemption. And on the other hand, it's all grounded in the messy real world of charisma, spectacle, and power. And it's such a brilliant move, right? He uses all this biblical language, but not to make things clear. He uses it to create what some have called charged indeterminacy. It creates this heavy atmosphere, like judgment is just around the corner. But the person who's supposed to be judged, the Jokerman, you can never quite get a beat on him. He just keeps slipping away. And that technique, that's the key to why this song, even though it's 40 years old, feels like it could have been written yesterday. Think about it. Celebrity politicians who mix their personal brand with a sense of mission. Spiritual gurus using religious-sounding language to sell you something. Public figures who get more powerful the more people argue about them. This collision of lofty language and raw power, it's everywhere. So with all these conflicting clues, who is this Jokerman? Well, the song doesn't just hand you an answer. Instead, it kind of gives us a police lineup of classic archetypes, like suspects in a really complex case. First up, you've got the Trickster, the unpredictable character who thrives on chaos. Then there's the false savior. You know the type, super charismatic, says all the right things, but there's just nothing there underneath. And finally, the witness, the one who's always there, watching, seeing everything, but never getting involved. And what's so wild is that the lyrics give you just enough evidence to believe he could be any one of them, but never enough to be sure. So, which is it? Is the Jokerman one of these? Or is he some kind of mix of all three? And that, right there, is the key question. The real power of the song is that it keeps all these doors open at once. It makes you realize that so many public figures today aren't just one thing. They're a bit of a hybrid, aren't they? Part performer, part prophet, and part quiet observer, all rolled into one. All right, so we've looked at the clues, we've looked at the suspects, and it feels like we've hit a dead end. The trail's gone cold. But what if the point is that there's no clear verdict? What if the unsolved case is the whole point? To get our heads around that, we need to look at how the song is actually built. See, this song doesn't really tell a story in a normal way, with a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's more like a surreal montage. It just throws this crazy rapid-fire stream of powerful images at you. Images from religion, from politics, from old myths, and they're often clashing with each other. And this method is so effective. Why? Because it makes us, the listeners, do the heavy lifting. We have to try and connect all these conflicting pieces. We're not just sitting back and being told a story. We're actively trying to make sense of it all. And that process, that interpretive labor, it teaches us something huge, that modern power often works the exact same way. It thrives not on being clear, but on keeping us guessing. So here's the bottom line. A lot of modern charisma, a lot of modern power, isn't about having a clear argument. That's just a tiny piece of it. It's mostly about spectacle, and even more importantly, about being a blank screen that attracts people's projections. The figure becomes this vessel, and everyone can pour their own hopes and fears into them. And the craziest part? The more we all argue about what that person really means, the stronger they get. And that brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. This song isn't just a portrait of a Jokerman, it's a training manual for how to read a Jokerman. It's not a riddle you're supposed to solve to get a prize. It's more like a workout for your brain designed to sharpen your critical thinking so you can spot the Jokermen in our world today. Which, of course, leaves us with one last really big question. In a world full of Jokermen, how do we learn to see clearly? I mean, Dylan wrote this back in 1983. Think about our world now with social media, deepfakes, politics that feel more like theater. This song's lesson is more important than ever. It doesn't give us the answer, but man, it sure gives us the tools to start asking the right questions.